off mute, kind of introduce yourself, tell us what school you're at, what content area or areas you teach, and then choose to answer what one of the following. What are let her in. What are ways that you are encouraging academic discussion in your classroom, and then what's working and what's not? Or alternatively, what is one wish you have for the start of the year? So who would like to go first? It's a small group, so we're going to make you all talk. I'm sorry.
I'll go first. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My name is Nishaya Jabbar. I am at Ashley Elementary. New hire for this year. I was a teacher 3 years ago, left and came back. So let's see, content area, it's all subjects. And we're new curriculum as well this year. So, but that's for everybody. Let's see, it says, what are ways you're encouraging it? You know, I've been looking at a lot of ways, maybe a lot of turn and share, also the KWL charts. I saw something on that, and I like, you know, maybe present those a lot so that way we can do, there'll be a lot of collaborative discussions around that.
Awesome.
Oh, what is challenging? I don't know yet. Learning everything new, and you know, and seamlessly putting everything together. It seems it's going to be challenging.
Teaching is challenging. Period.
Yes, this is accurate. Would somebody else like to come off mute and share?
I'll
Sure.
go.
Okay, go ahead, Sarah.
Okay. So my name's Sarah Coggins. This is Sarah Coggins. I teach at Florence Creighton High School, and I teach high school math. Or what we're already doing. So math was a part of the CROT network, which was focused around academic conversations. And so we required it as part of the grade, and had a bunch of different structures that we tried to do. And they didn't care if they got the D in the class. They just didn't want to participate in it, with the exception of like if they're helping each other understand, like not in a structured way, just I'm helping my friend understand something, they'll communicate about it. But once we add structures, they strongly avoid. And then we did lots of like empathy interviews to figure out how they felt about academic conversations. And the biggest things they felt like was when they worked with their peers, they felt more confused. First, when they talked to the teacher, they understood the contents better. And they're like, I'm not equipped to teach my peers math that I barely understand myself. And so yeah. And so they felt like when they did get it, they could help their friend, but they didn't want to help anybody else because they didn't want to have to interact with people who they didn't like. And it's a small school. Sometimes we only have like 2 or 3 girls in the room. So yeah.
Great, thank you for sharing. Tamara or Rhonda?
Oh, sure, I'll go. My name is Rhonda Rao. I'm at University Park Elementary, and I teach 4th grade all subjects. Academic discussion, I usually use like a vocabulary word bank for science, especially of words that I'm listening for them to use. And then I put marbles in a jar, and when we fill the jar, we get a party or celebration.
Oh, cute.
Sentence stems, definitely. Google Translate for all my English language learners. And then I came across Crosstalk from another PD I did a couple of years ago. Basically, it's where like we'd have a question about something we're doing in science, for example, and then the students would just lead the discussion. Like, and I would rarely interrupt unless they got way off tangent, like where they would add on to each other, or they would say, I respectfully disagree. I think it's this. And a lot of times it was after like we did like a simulation, or we've already done some work around the topic, and then it's kind of like applying their thinking. Challenging is to get everybody to participate. Sometimes I tell them, I say, hey, your grade is just whether you're participating, whether it's just agreeing with someone or actually talking or adding on. And my wish this year already happened. I was hoping they would hire another 4th grade teacher, and I got my wish. So now we have smaller classes. I was going to have like 30 something. So now I'm down to 21. So got my wish already. So it makes everything better. The other big challenge is such a big focus on the new CQLA curriculum this year that I'm like, okay, what about science? Yeah. And then fourth grade, we're being tested in social studies this year. So I'm again like, what about science?
Awesome. And then Tamara, you are our last friend.
Hi, Tamara Gaffney from East High School. Content area is math. And ways that are we answering all on one of the questions? So one, I guess I want to answer is what's challenging is I really would like to, I love discussion and I love the kids talking, but just to be able to get them to write, be able to explain it, put it in words. So be able to write their thinking, which means if they can write it, then that means they got it. For me, I just feel like if they can write it clear and write it, they can be able to, they got it. So just teaching them how to write mathematics and how to write their notes and how to summarize their thinking and how to get to a place of where they can put it in writing their thinking. And that's my challenge for this year, is to work on that a little bit better. And especially with our curriculum that we have, they do a lot of group work and collaboration, but they don't never get to, I don't feel like I'm not good at making them summarize their thinking to move it to the next phase, to move it to the next step, to move it to the next step.
Awesome. Well, then you guys are in the right place. So we're going to jump right into our agenda. So today we did our inclusive welcome. We're going to talk a little bit about why communication is so important. And then we're going to dive into how to use Canva whiteboards and mind maps. And then dive into some language supports and alternative tools for MLL learners. And then we're going to try to give you guys some individual work time. We had budgeted about 20 minutes. Last session, we had a little bit of technical issues, so that kind of was about 10. So we'll have some extra time, hopefully, because it's a smaller group. Our Siri mindset focus today is high expectations. So maintaining clear expectations regardless of identity or background. And so keeping that high expectations as we introduce communication for our students. And we're going to start with our why. Okay.
We wanted to kind of give you an idea of how, if we were teachers, how we will set up these kind of things, the academic discussions in the classroom. And usually one good strategy is to provide examples to the students about, okay, how does that look like in the classroom? So we are going to look at a 60-second video of a math teacher with her elementary students implementing a strategy for partner talk in math.
Wait, let me know if you guys
Today's
can hear
problem
this.
of the day. How many pumpkins are green? Remember, you do not need to panic. You will talk with your partner. Math Partners is a strategy that I use daily. I want them to be able to not only get an answer, but explain how they got that answer. The first step is they work to solve the problem on their own, and then they discuss it with a partner.
Okay, so I got 8 plus 3 plus 5 equals 16.
They have talking stems. Do I agree or disagree with you? How did you solve this? And how can you prove your answer's correct? They'll find out, hey, I did it a different way, but yet they still got the same answer. Then we come back together and I ask for someone who feels like they can teach it to the class, because that's what math is about, being able to explain the steps they took to solve the problem.
So then I added on 5 more and I got to 16.
Okay, thank you so much. Like I said, we wanted to provide an example of how it looks like, but we want to internalize that example. So we want to open it to the floor and see what do you see in there? What actions the students engage and possibly the teacher engage in facilitating these academic discussions? You saw she was talking also, and students were talking about writing also. What kind of expectations do you think that the teacher might have set? So you have 2 options. You can post on the chat if you would like to. Feel free to unmute and also just tell us what you think.
Or if you guys don't want to come off chat again, feel free to drop it in, or off mute again, excuse me. Feel free to drop it in the chat. That is totally acceptable as well.
I think for me, that expectation of, and it has to be routine because it has to be a routine that the kids are used to and know to do. So that piece of them as knowing that when they're working with their partner, kind of what those expectations are, those sit and stims are in place for us to make sure we're answering those questions or at least thinking about that. So it's kind of guiding some of that, those questioning in their head for them to be able to go in case they get stuck on what we talk about. They have something to talk about. So I think that expectation and showing them what that expectation was very helpful, was very encouraging.
Mhm.
Thank you for pointing that out, Tamara. Rhonda is saying also that the teacher created expectations of how to work with a partner and how to give feedback. Elisa says model communication models. And Nadia, you say that the teacher acted like a guide. And Elisa is adding or modeling what happened, what partnership looks like. Those things are very difficult to do, right? We are. I have the impression that you guys are very experienced teachers, so you have gone through these dances many times. I have the impression, and you know that this is something that takes time to do. Yeah, students are expected to go beyond solving the math problem. Yeah, the solution is not. It's important, but the process is also as important, right? We know that. Very good. Thank you so much for pointing those things out. We'll come back to these in a moment. Katie, if you don't mind to hit the next slide. So the research is very conclusive on what happened when a teacher and in a classroom, as students and teachers implement academic discussions in a good at a good level. Research shows that educational experiences that are active, social, contextual, engaging, and student-owned lead to deeper learning. And there are many benefits, including the development of higher order thinking, development of oral communications and vocabulary, specific academic vocabulary, also self-management and leadership skills. I think that, if we were going to ask you, what are some important skills for the job place now and in the future? Some of these skills will be really, really important. I think that you will agree on that. Next slide, please. Or I can take it over if you want to, but I know that we have had some technical issues in the morning. And whatever works best, then we do it best. Then there is a small article. It's just one pager. It will take you a couple of minutes to go through. We want you to go and read that for a moment. The image is the link. So if you click in the link in the presentation, it will take you to this particular article. And there is a section that we wanted you to start at. Not to read the whole thing, but there is a section that is called Guiding Students Toward Good Conversation. Start there. From there to the end, there are just a few paragraphs. So take a couple of minutes to read that, and we'll come back to the conversation.
Okay. You guys all finished reading? Give us a thumbs up or a...
Does anybody need more time? Okay, if nobody, if you're done reading, then I was hoping that we could have a quick conversation about, according to the article, what are some social soft skills that can help build an environment where students engage in meaningful conversation? How are you as a teacher providing opportunities to practice those skills? What is your experience on that? So those are the two questions on the slide. Again, you can feel free to unmute and express your thinking, or you can post it on the chat as well. So what are some of those soft social skills that are important to implement academic discussions in the classroom?
So Sarah in the chat said showing interest and engagement. We've got turn and share sentence stems, respect ideas. Students need to feel included.
Any
other
others?
thoughts? All righty.
Okay.
No, I keep going back.
Then in the article, they were talking about social etiquette, clarity of communication, reciprocation, which Sarah alluded to in terms of getting that feeling of inclusion, right? And showing interest and engagement, taking a perspective and inclusion, and finding common ground. Those are some soft skills that students have to engage in and find value in. Nadia is saying, set norms for discussion. Basically, that those norms can actually more or less describe what is the expected behavior and why that expected behavior is important. Again, you remember that in the video, there was an allusion about the how. Okay, this is what we do. We get together with partners, we discuss what we learn, then we come and present what we learn, share it with the classroom. But here are some things that in order for that to happen, then the students have to be open to these particular norms, to this way of acting in the classroom, right? So in summary, here are some key elements of meaningful academic discussions. According to these two experiences we just had, students respond to each other thinking, and that's an expectation that, hey, you'll say what you think too. Students attend to use academic language without prompting. The use of that vocabulary that is so special. MLLs use translanguaging, and we'll talk a little bit about what translanguaging is. Writing as part of preparing students for discussion or locking the learning from a discussion. So a little bit of some kind of reflection probably. And after discussion, the teacher prompts students to lock in their key learning through summaries, reflection, exit tickets, etc. And like you were saying, like Nadia was saying, norms. This is a kind of giving you a little bit of a framework to build your norms and also to show those different routines that have to be in place daily, as the article was saying. So the next.
Awesome. So we're going to move into some work times where we're going to try show you guys some tools. If you would like to work independently, please feel free. We threw a couple of all-in-ones there of some of the resources that we're going to be covering today. If you would rather follow along with us, I would highly encourage that. But you do have the opportunity to work independently if that suits you. The first thing we're going to look at is a Canva whiteboard. And so if you're in the slide deck, you're going to just click on this link right here, and I'll be able to paste that in. And you should get to a Canva board that looks something like this. I guess there's a double copy of it. I'm not sure why. And I will drop that link in the chat as well, so you have it. If you have not used Canva before, a couple of logistical pieces down here. Can you see my mouse on the main screen? Down here in the bottom, you should see a zoom bar. That little button, there it is. Now you can see my mouse. That will allow you to zoom in and out. Canva whiteboards are super cool because they're infinitely scalable. So you can actually make it as big as you want and have 550 different things on here, or you could have, just one piece on here. Down here is going to hide your thumbnails. So going from slide to slide, we'll be on slide 2, 3, and 4 later in the afternoon. And then if you prefer to look at them as a square, you could do this as well. So we're going to be on the first one, and this is a KWL chart. We decided to do something fun for our KWL. So our topic is going to be the Olympics. And so you can go ahead and grab a Post-it note. And I know the Olympics did just end, but you could do what you knew about the Olympics, what you wanted to learn about the Olympics, or what you did learn about the Olympics this year. So go ahead and grab. I'm going to delete this one because I'm not sure why that was there. And I'll make some more Post-its so that we have a couple extra just in case. And go ahead and grab one and drag it to wherever it is that you would like to. Does that make sense, y'all? Beautiful. I see Rhonda in here. Okay, have a good one tomorrow.
How do I write on one of the sticky notes? I'm not familiar.
Perfect. So I'm going to zoom in. Oop, too far. And then all I'm going to do is just grab a sticky note and I double click on it and I should see my text. And so I can start typing the Olympics was fun, or whatever you wanted to type. And then you could just drag it and drop it. And what I love about Canva is you see these little arrows going around. Any student that you put this out to, it's going to show the student's name. So one of the things I did not like about Jamboard was you didn't know who was typing what. And so now I can say like, oh, Rhonda, I see you typing something bad. We shouldn't be typing nasty words to our friends, versus, it kind of being the Wild West. And so students have a little bit more of accountability. So Sarah wrote, I know that I had no intention to watch it and didn't. Really? Okay. A lot of people were anti the Olympics this year, and I have a bone to pick with that. And people found most of the events boring. How the Australian breakdancers feeling with all the social media attention? That's a good question. People learned that the climbing events were great. Rhonda said, I know they took place in Paris. Yep, exactly. So again, this topic, the Olympics, doesn't necessarily connect to what we're talking about today, but we wanted to show you the use of a KWL chart, being able to drag and drop Post-its and stickies for students. And each of you guys are working on the same document. So you can take these links, share them out with your classes, whether it be through Google Classroom or through Schoology, and students can all work collaboratively on these whiteboards. This allows you to start those conversations, begin to have discussions without even having students talk. It makes it a little bit more approachable for those kids who might not feel as comfortable raising their hands, or might be better typers or have language barriers. Canva will talk about being able to translate, but I can type, and I'm going to grab somebody else's, and I can highlight this and I can actually have this translate to whatever language I want. And that makes it a little bit more accessible for our MLL learners as well. Questions so far? Awesome. So we are actually going to move to our second tab. So if you go ahead and click into the second mind map.
Can I ask a quick question? How do I make
Absolutely.
it larger so I can actually see what I'm typing? Because I couldn't.
Oh,
tell
so
what I'm typing.
can you see my mouse down here, the zoom bar
Okay. I
at
can
the
do-
very bottom corner, and you can just drag and drop and zoom in and out.
Got it.
And then if you were trying to type just like on Google, you can make the text itself bigger or the text itself smaller using these buttons up here. Change your font, change your shape, change your color. So in this mind map, we're going to look at ideas about how to develop academic vocabulary in support of meaningful academic discussion. So this one does apply to our content today. And we had a couple teachers earlier, so they said sentence stems that include academic vocabulary, images, or how do you say that word, EJ? Realia? Realia? Or real world
Realia.
examples. Realia, there
Realia.
you go. Or vocabulary word lists. So students are able to actually take and put thoughts into a mind map, which will then help them potentially in their later academic discussions. Cool thing is, so like, let's say I wanted to add another topic off here, I can just highlight it, click this arrow, and now I have a new circle that I can drag. You're not gonna let me drag it? Or I could put a new topic in here. Or maybe I want to put something out here. Well, now I can click that arrow and I can have a whole nother idea here. So go ahead and take about 30 seconds, a few more seconds in there. Look at those sentence stems, or excuse me, look at that word mind map. See if you wanted to add anything else.
Can you show me one more time how you're adding like the lines and the circles quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. So if I click on an image, do you see the arrows here, up, down, side to side?
Yeah.
So I would just click on that, and that's going to make a whole nother bubble.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And let's say you really like what somebody's saying. What we did was we grabbed a couple of images and I could go, oh, I really like this answer. Or, I'm not really sure what they're getting at here. And so you can grab one of these images over to the side if you wanted to do a reaction for our kiddos. Some kids really aren't necessarily comfortable typing or comfortable posing their own ideas, but this is a great way to start those conversations of like, hey, I didn't understand what you meant here, or, oh, I really like that, kind of getting their thoughts down on paper before they even begin to discuss in person. I'm going to delete this one. So Sarah is saying, whoop, practice sentence stems for getting to know you topics. Yes. Or reviewing topics before having to use them with grade level content. Love that idea. Being able to give kids something accessible, very similarly how we did our KWL with the Olympics, having that idea on a simpler level for students. Somebody earlier said word bank checklist that students can check off when they hear their partner say a vocab word. So similar to like what you were saying, Rhonda, with the marbles. Making vocabulary lists and actually having students refer back to it. That one's huge. That people are, or that you really want the students to know. So again, mind maps are here. They're available for you. I did not create this mind map. If you've never used Canva before, one of the great things is their templates. So I'm up over here in the templates, and all I did was search mind map. And I have 50 different types with different colors and different shapes, and whatever I want to grab, I can grab any of those. Or let's say I really wanted to do project planning. Well, I've got project roadmaps, or I've got project plans, I've got different charts, I've got business models. So pretty much anything that you can think that you would use as like a worksheet, Venn diagrams, KWL charts, all of this is available to students and teachers for free. So students are actually going to sign in. That's a great question. Teachers, yes, I would have this part done preemptively. And then if I had, you're high school, correct? Your elementary school. Yep. So in order to share, I could click share. And then since you are on Google Classroom, I could just share it to my Google Classroom. And it's going to take you through that process. It doesn't integrate super well with Schoology. So if you're secondary, you would just then copy this link. And then I'd be able to share that link in Schoology. And that would take all of my students to the same document. Does that answer your question? So yes, you would have to do a little bit of prep work on the forehand. I would encourage you to walk students through how do I create a speech bubble? How do I type in the box? But if this is something you're excited about, that's where I would reach out to your digital coach and you could plan one of your deep dives around that, or just wanted to work with that more. Other questions? Awesome. Okay. So we're going to move back to our section and dive into some MLL resources for our Spanish speakers.
Okay, then I wanted to walk you through, let me see, am I presenting the presentation? Let me make sure that I am there. Can you see a slide that says English and Spanish in the classroom? All right, then you are there. We mentioned the technique that is called translanguaging, and this becomes a reality because English and Spanish and many other languages that are Romance languages, Latin, Greek based, share about 30 to 40% of words and structures between those languages. English and Spanish have a lot in common. So we wanted to share with you as a facilitation to actually deal with the issue of English learners learning vocabulary, this technique called translanguaging. So basically what it is a way to compare the two languages side by side. And you notice that here I have, on the left side, I have academic vocabulary, and I have chosen certain words: global, cause, human, activity, use, position. Let's say that these are words that come out of an article that students have to read. And then what I do is basically compare the Spanish to the English, or the English to the Spanish, whichever I'm more comfortable with. And you notice that these words have their sister words in English, that they look a lot alike and they sound a lot alike. These words become then a point of access for the students, because we wanted to bring this type of discussion to you because one of the issues in academic discussion is that the students might find themselves with not having access to the content and not be able to talk about it because of the linguistic challenge, right? So the technique of translanguaging, it kind of hits from the front and provides an entry point for the students to understand a particular text. Like many of you said, sentence stems are also a way to go. And I put here a lot of sentence stems, both in English and in Spanish, for every domain and every language function. So if you click on those links, you are going to find all those. You can actually copy the text and put it in Canva, so students can actually use them within a discussion prompt in Canva itself. So I was hoping that we could do that in Canva. I put a few words here. If you click, go back to the Canva whiteboard or click on the link, go to page 3. So let me go back to that Canva board. And if you go to page 3, you will see a set of words. What I would like you to do is grab one of those stickies again and write down what you think that the word in English will be. You might not feel very comfortable, but I know that you have some experience with Spanish. Probably you took classes in high school or in college. So feel free to go in and give us a sense of what you think these words are.
And don't worry about the post-its that say like my name on here. Once you start typing in there, it'll change to your name. And I can make some more if you need more.
Answer to problems, resolver, to solve, to resolve problems. Good. Others, otros, others. Very well done. Yeah. Good, Sarah. Members, miembros. Very good. The last one is a little bit difficult, but I wanted to put a little bit of a challenge there because the letters are spread through the word to be able to find the sister word in English. Sarah says stress because
Ooh, that's a good guess.
it's a good guess because it can be stressful to do an esfuerzo. Any other takes? Okay, EJ says
Mhm.
effort. If you can see,
Mm.
if you can see the parity of the two words, EFRO, right? But like I said, the words, the text, the letters of the word are kind of spread across. So it's a little more difficult, that one. Very well done. This is what translanguaging is, and you can take it as far as you want, or as simple as you want to facilitate students having access to the text. Then let me go back to the presentation, and we'll do a couple more of activities with other tools as well. One tool that we are very fond of that provides a lot of access to students is something called Read and Write. And I'm going to demo a couple of things here with a text called Mayan Ruins. I'm going to share that tab. This is a Google document that I put together from a web page. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch the Read and Write app, and I'm going to use the dictionary. I'm going to collect some words to build a vocabulary list. And also, I'm going to look at possible word parity or sisterhood in Spanish. You could use this to actually find out what words in English in a particular reading that you give your students could pair with different words in Spanish. So you notice that I've highlighted some ahead of time. So I'm going to use that, and I'm going to launch the translator. It's right here on the top center of the tool. I'm going to move the translator to the right so I can look at another tool. And I'm going to launch a picture dictionary to give me some pictures of what that is. So when I highlight civilizations, I have now the word in Spanish. Look at the word in Spanish, civilización. Very much like civilization. It's a good cognate to use in translanguaging, for example. Look at the word pyramids. If I highlight the word pyramids, I get the image of what a pyramid is, and also the equivalent in Spanish, pirámide. And I can change the language to translate to any language that Google can translate. Basically, there are hundreds of languages that you can. So let's say that I want my students, I want these words to be part of a word study or a vocabulary word. If I go to I highlighted these words ahead of time, I said, by using these markers on top, these highlighters. I'm going to now click the list, the vocabulary list, and I'm going to ask it to construct a vocabulary list for my students, pulling those colors out. Now it's kind of looking at what the definition of those words that I highlighted are. I'm going to build that particular document. Let me share with you the tab where that document came out. So here you can see the word that I have chosen, and you have and here are the different meanings depending on the acception and use of the word in context. And you have images and an extra space to write notes if you want to. Students have access to these for free if they are MLLs and if they have IEPs as well. And all teachers in DPS have free access to the enterprise version of Read and Write. So let me go back then to the presentation here. Then we included here also a bunch of rubrics for you that you could export to your LMS, to something like Schoology. Schoology is really good at working with rubrics, but we put a bunch of rubrics here for you to use with your MLS around conversations. For students to self-assess, you can assess them using those rubrics as well. But there are quite a few in there for you to explore. And then we wanted to explore a little bit of Google Translate. Many people think that Google Translate only will translate words word by word or something like that. As a matter of fact, you can translate full documents. If you save them in PDF, you can also export them into the translator. I'm going to grab a document that I have on my computer on the desktop. That Mayan ruin document that I showed you a moment ago, I'm going to translate it, and it's set to translate English to Spanish. So I'm going to go and do that. And I have the option to download the translation or open it. I'm just going to open it for you. Let me show you how that looks like. Now I have the document completely translated from English to Spanish. And one of the cool things is that it respects the images, and the footnotes on the images get translated as well. So there is no need for you to go killing yourself trying to produce documents in different languages for your students so they can have access to the content. Because access to the content is the first thing to be able to talk about what we are trying to learn in the classroom, right? If students that don't have access to the content due to language have a double whammy when it comes to the learning process. Well, let me go back to the presentation.
Sarah asks in the chat, is it better practice to give worksheets / notes in Spanish for WIDO 1 through 4? Or should they get it in English and be taught how to use translation tools if they want / need it?
I would use that, I will approach it strategically, depending on what I want. To do one thing or the other every single time might not get you where you want to. If I want the students to get content quickly because I need the learning done fast, then I'll provide the access through the second language. If I have presented already a topic and we have discussed for a while, they have built a little bit of vocabulary, they know the ideas and the concepts, then I'll push them to the English. You are being strategic, and that's the cool thing about these tools. You decide, for example, you notice that Read and Write, the one that I presented earlier, is for the English environment. That doesn't have a translator that is full document translator, is word by word, to force the kids to use the English. But Google Translate can give you access right away in any language that you want to, basically. So in that way, you decide as a teacher when is more appropriate. What's my strategy around the language acquisition in my classroom? I hope that makes sense. Then the other tool we wanted to share with you is called Magic School. And Magic School, hold on a second, this
And then
image.
just time check, we have about 4 minutes.
Okay. This image is the translator of Magic School. Magic School is the AI platform that DPS have authorized for teachers and students. So you can use it. And there is a translator that is a wonderful translator in there. The image is a link directly to the app and to the translator inside there. So you can decide what language, and then you can actually load documents into it by using the clip and generate a translation. Very, very simple. All right, that was my part.
And our last piece that we are going to highlight this video about how to translate in Canva. We're not going to have you guys watch it, and it's available if you want it. But if you go into Canva and start using it with your students, we have that as well. So our final piece, our optimistic closure. Let me go back and present. Our optimistic closure is going to be going back into that final Canva page, and you should see our little mountain. And so the goal here is to grab one of these adorable little flags and write a goal or a milestone on it that you hope to encounter throughout or complete throughout the year, and then place it higher up if you feel like it's a harder goal for you, or lower up, or just somewhere in the middle if you just wanted to grab that as well. Just kind of throwing in one of those goals or a tool you want to try to integrate, or something you want to experience as you go into this school year. And like I said, we only have about 3 minutes left, so I apologize that we ran a little time. I feel like this session was much shorter than last session. But if you have any questions between now and those last 3 minutes, go ahead and drop your flag, and then we're going to return back to the main room, which I will drop that link in the chat when you are done, for our final overall optimistic closure as a team. And that is that final group. That is the one that ends in the QQB. So any final questions, feel free to unmute. And then when you've dropped your flag, go ahead and pop back to that main room. And thank you guys so much. Somehow on the last page, lost the page. I will add it here. Oh, beautiful. That's great as well. Using technology with the students such as Canvas. Yeah, that's where I would, if you're have the capacity this year to sign up for our PDU, would highly encourage it. You'll get some one-on-one time to work with your coach, which for Ashley, I think is Brittany Hermosillo, but I'm not fully positive. It is, yeah. So, and Brittany's great. Kind of, will work with you on how to integrate these tools, how you could do it in class, help you lesson plan. So, would encourage you. And then you get 3 credits towards moving a step. So that would be. I didn't have that opportunity as a teacher. I'm like, I would totally do these every year. So.
It has been a pleasure having you, and reach out if you have any questions or need help implementing any of these tools. If we are not your coach, Katie Benkini and I will put you in touch with yours for sure.
All right, in about 1 more minute, any other final thoughts or questions? You're so welcome. Lisa? Canva for more than just presentations, absolutely. Getting students to dive deeper into their peers' art critiques by using academic language, that was somebody from earlier. More opportunities for students to share their thinking, establishing a routine around using academic languages, and getting all my kids to use Rewrite. Those are all awesome. Thank you guys so much, and we're going to hop back to the main room for our final few minutes of wrap up. And the link is right there, that